Hello and welcome to Prove Through You. Here we are on our part three of our financial journey. We have been talking about just basic financial literacy, financial stewardship, and today we are on part three of our budgeting talk. My overall goal here on the channel is to encourage you to walk by faith and to grow in what you already know so that God's faithfulness can be proved through you. So, this lesson, we're going to talk about our monthly recap. So far, we've talked about tracking our spending weekly or daily. We talked about setting budgets for each and every category. And we've even looked at a few ways that we can figure out what is a variable, what is a fixed expense, and things of that nature. So, for the monthly recap, and again, this is for if you are doing a paper and pen type of budgeting system. If you are an electronic budgeter, then your layout may be a little bit different and your process may be a little bit more automated because usually those apps or Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, they will already calculate this for you. But I like to do mine by pen and paper because it allows those numbers to be just more real to me. I want to feel the effect of my spending and of my saving so that I know that it matters. So you want to gather your tracked expenses and you want to put them into categories. So here is just a list of different categories that some of your expenses may fall into. If you don't want to use these categories, feel free to come up with your own. And so, for example, for home, that could be rent or mortgage, renters or mortgage insurance. That could be Wi-Fi. It could be utilities such as electricity, sewer, garbage, water. All of those fall under a home expense for me. There's also personal category. So that's for any type of self-care, whether it's flowers, candles, a cologne, a perfume, a bag, a hairdo, a haircut, whatever you do for self-care. That's what you want to put into that self-care or that personal category. Now, if you find yourself spending and you're looking over your current statement, the things that you've spent for the last 30 days, and it doesn't fall into any of these categories, you can put it under the miscellaneous category. All that means is I spent money, I'm not sure what it's for, and it doesn't belong in any of the categories that I have listed. So once you separate those by category, you want to total up how much did you spend for each category. So for the month of May, how much did I spend for my home expenses? How much did I spend on groceries? How much did I spend eating out? How much did I spend on paying down debt or incurring debt? How much did I spend on my family or my pets? All of those things, you want to total them up so that you know exactly how much you've spent in the month of May in each and every category. So when you look at some of those numbers during your monthly recap, it may shock you a little bit, or you may be left with a lot of questions. So, here I just want to offer some little input. Here are some of the questions you can ask yourself as you are reviewing your monthly spending. Okay. Was there an area of spending that surprised me? It could be a good surprise or it could be a bad surprise, or I wouldn't say a bad surprise, more like a learning surprise. Were you not aware of how much you were spending in groceries or in car maintenance? Is that something that you feel like you can change? And I know for me, when I first started reviewing my spending, I saw that I was spending $600 a month in Walmart, not including money orders, not including groceries, not including personal items. This was just miscellaneous spending, $600. Now, I am a single mother, and at the time, my child was an infant. So this was years ago. And so I just had to have that conversation with myself. How are you, as one person, spending $600? That's just ridiculous. But it did not occur to me until I sat down, added up my spending, and I saw, okay, well, something about this has to change because for one person and one child who doesn't have, any health issues, um, any personal needs or anything like that, there's no way to justify why I was spending that amount of money at Walmart or Publix or Target or Costco or Sam's because it was basically one adult and one infant child. Is there an area where I could change my spending? And again, this could be an area where you could spend more or spend less because as you continue to look at your expenses, that's how you can see where your priorities are. Where are your financial priorities while you're evaluating how much you've spent? Another question you can ask yourself, did tracking my spending, my expense tracker, did that really help me when I looked at what I was spending daily or weekly instead of once a month? Did it make me want to spend less because I saw, oh, I was almost near that budget that I set for myself. Now I need to no longer spend over here because if I do, I'm going to go over my budget. And what is there something that you could do differently next month? Okay, well, maybe you tried to reduce spending by $100 and you got down to 50. Okay, what can you try differently next month to help you get there? Should you eat out more or eat out less? Should you try generic instead of name brand? Should you maybe set a timer on all electronics in the home and see what you can do to kind of reduce those bills to help you save more money if having a side hustle or picking up a second or third job is not an option for you. I've been there before. I'm not trying to make you use more of your time before you actually see what you have at home. How can we work with what we already have? Okay, and what goals did you reach? Don't just take this as an opportunity to beat on yourself and get down about where you missed the mark. What goals did you reach, and how can you celebrate reaching those goals? And again, what habits do I hope to maintain or change? Maybe you did really good in the self-care category, but okay, I need to find a way to lower my utilities. Maybe I did really good by not shopping online, but boy, in person, I racked up them dollars. Okay, so what habits or what systems can you change in order to help you reach those goals? So, as we continue our discussion about the monthly recap, now I'm not someone who can save 6 months straight and just save, 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 and never reward myself. So, along my budgeting journey, I find ways to celebrate for each goal or milestone that I reach. And let's talk about a few of those ways. So I'm very big on gift cards. Most times when someone asks me, well, what do you want for your birthday or how can we celebrate you? I always have a list of gift cards that I ask them to purchase from my favorite airlines, my favorite eateries, my favorite places to shop, because that way I can still reward myself, but I'm not spending the money that's going towards my goal. I'm spending money that's on a gift card. Or I will look through the different apps that I have on my phone to see if there's a free item that's available, and I'm not above using a coupon. So sometimes my favorite places will have a buy one get one free or buy one get one half off, or maybe there are matinee days at the movies and matinee times. That's normally when I will go because I still want to celebrate and enjoy myself, but the entire purpose of saving is not to overspend as a way of rewarding myself and treating myself for meeting that goal. And so again, when I try to treat myself, I try to make it about $20 or less, and you can change that amount based on where you are financially. But for me, I don't believe that every treat has to be expensive. If there is a particular perfume that I want and maybe it's $80 or $100, what I will do is I will just save for about 4 months and maybe put $20 aside every month. And then after the end of the 4 months, I will go and buy the perfume. But I do not reward myself for bigger amounts every week or every other week that I don't overspend on my budget, because to me, that is offsetting the entire purpose of trying to save and trying to budget. Now, I'm a big foodie. I love to eat. I like to try new places to eat. But one thing I have found is that dinner is usually bigger portions, but it's also a little bit more expensive. And so if there's a new place that I want to try or simply one of my favorite places to eat, I will either go there during breakfast, brunch, or lunch. It's the same delicious food, it's a smaller portion, and it's less cost. So I try to do things like that as a way to reward myself as well. And another thing you can try is give yourself 30 extra minutes. That could be 30 extra minutes to soak in the tub, 30 extra minutes of walking outside, 30 extra minutes of a podcast, 30 extra minutes of worship, whatever you are needing in that time. If you don't want to spend money, give yourself time as a reward. Maybe 30 minutes of not answering pressing emails, or 30 minutes of not always picking up the phone. Maybe you need to put down social media for 30 minutes, and that's your way to reward yourself as you continue to strive and reach these goals. Now, what are different ways that you can change your goals or spending? Number one, and we talked about it probably in every video so far, you have to give yourself grace. In the beginning, some of these numbers may shock you. You may learn something new about yourself, but you still have to give yourself grace. You did not get into this debt overnight. You may not be able to get out of it overnight as well, but remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progression. You want to keep taking those steps to strive to do better than you did the month before or the week before. And sometimes that may mean adjusting your goals. Maybe you tried to go from $600 to $400 and that was too big of a jump. Maybe you should go from $600 to $550 to $500 to $400 and just kind of scale back with each check or with every month. And earlier I talked about a saving challenge that I like to call the cupboard challenge. And I do this about once every 3 months. And I cook down everything in my freezer and in my cabinets in my pantry that hasn't expired, and I cook all of that down, and I don't go and buy any groceries. And so what that looks like for me is, if we need maybe dairy products or fruit, because those don't really have a long shelf life, I'll maybe spend $30 or $40 buying those items, and that's it. Everything else we cook down from inside of the home. And so what that does is it forces me to be creative. I will go on allrecipes.com. I will look at Tasty, YouTube. I will Google what can I make with tuna and rice and try that recipe. I even go to the library and check out different types of cookbooks so that I can learn different recipes. Now, there are 4 women that I follow on Instagram. I believe 3 of them have a YouTube channel. But I don't think the 4th one does. And they are at the Broke Black Girl, at the Budget Mom, at the Organized Money, and at Budget Treasures. All 4 of those ladies have a great variety of saving challenges, and I really encourage you to just check out their page and see if there's one that can fit how you decide to save money. There's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate some fun along with your saving challenges to help you reach those goals. And you can also evaluate what you already have. You have things in your closet to wear, you have things in your cupboard to eat, you have things in your car that you can reuse or recycle or repurpose. Everything does not have to be brand new. Maybe if you're looking for a new wardrobe, try Salvation Army or try a local thrift store or consignment store. Or if you don't want to do that, maybe instead of going to all of the full price items, maybe you start in the clearance section as well. Or go into your closet and mix and match pieces. Just because you posted a picture one time 3 years ago, that doesn't mean you can never be seen in public with that again. But if you do feel that way, how you can get creative, maybe you can sell some of those clothes online. There are a lot of online shops where you can do clothing swaps, or you can just sell those items. You can do a yard sale if maybe you're not that tech savvy to set it up online, or maybe you just don't trust the online payment system. You can do a yard sale and get rid of those old things and then have a plan for the money that you receive from the yard sale. And you may also have to try a different spending approach. So for me, I used to try to buy in bulk, because I knew I would get more for my money. But because I didn't have a plan for what I was buying in bulk, I was really just being wasteful. My food would get freezer burned. I would get burned out from cooking. And so even though I bought in bulk and it should have lasted me maybe a month or 2, it really wasn't lasting at all. So now I don't shop in bulk unless it's household products like paper towels or toilet paper. But for the food, I try to shop bi-weekly. For my fruit, I try to do it weekly. And that's just what worked better for me. But before I could even get there, I had to do grocery pickup, because I would never have a list, and I would just go in there and grab all types of things that I thought sounded good, that I thought I would cook, and I would not. So I've had to learn to be a little bit more organized with how I shop and how I spend my money. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I haven't had cable in maybe 10 or 12 years, I use my library card and I check out the DVDs for the movies, for the shows, for the books, for the CDs, and I'm able to still enjoy those things, and I enjoy them for free. And now that we have Fire Sticks and subscriptions and Wi-Fi, I still have cut my cable bill in half by just using Wi-Fi and local resources at the library. So those are just some simple ideas that maybe can give you a different approach to spending. And so maybe you can use that for the next month that you decide to continue on. So, as we continue with the monthly recap, now, as you all know, this is a faith based channel. I believe in praying over our finances and over every aspect of our lives. And one thing I wanted to share was throughout the Bible, there are many scriptures that talk about money and wealth and provision, and not all of them are talking about it in a bad way. We have to remember that God is our provision and He provides for His children in many forms, but the verse that I chose is here because just because someone asks you for money, maybe there's something greater that you can give to them. And that comes from Acts chapter 3, verse 6. And it says, "Silver and gold have I not, but such as I do have, I'm going to give it to you." Now, there was a young man who was used to begging each and every day, or when people would walk by him, they would often take pity on him or have compassion on him, and they would give him money. And so one day, a man of God, they're walking by, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me?" And they say, "Well, I know you're here asking for money. Silver and gold I don't have, but what I do have, I'm going to give to you." And what he gave him was healing. He gave him the ability to get up and walk and work for himself. And sometimes that's what you have to do for people. Now, I give to charities, I give to people in need, but I cannot allow them to become fully dependent on me. And that's okay too. Sometimes the best thing that you can give people is not always money. That's why you may hear some folks say, "Well, I will give a one-time loan and that's it." And so there's a saying that says, if you give a man a fish, he can eat for that day. But if you teach a man to fish, he can feed himself for a lifetime. And that's truly what I believe is possible. There's nothing wrong with helping out family, friends, your parents, your children, and things like that. But there has to be a balance on it because you have goals and you're trying to steward them as well. And so as you're looking over your monthly recap and you're looking at your finances, my question to you is, how can God's faithfulness be proved through your finances? Because the channel is called Prove Through You, and we are aiming to combine the knowledge that you have with your faith so that God's faithfulness can be proved through you. So again, how can God's faithfulness be proved through your finances? Well, the first way is stewardship of provision. Some people need to understand that just because God gives you something, you still have to work to maintain it. And I tell my son all the time, it's easy to get an A, but you still have to work to maintain it. It's easy to get money, but you still have to work to maintain it. You have to work to stay out of the NSFEs. You have to work to stay out of bankruptcy. You still are able to get it, but you have to put in the work to be able to maintain it. And so as we stewardship the provision, we can say, well, Lord, I thank you for trusting me with the gift of finances. I thank you, Lord, for showing me that that investment was able to pay off. And so that way you can teach someone else financial literacy. You can teach someone else how budgeting has done something for you because that wisdom comes from God. If He did not allow you to see another day, you couldn't go to work. You couldn't invest in stocks. You couldn't sell stocks. You couldn't purchase land. You couldn't purchase real estate if God did not breathe breath in your body to allow you to be able to do so. And that's one thing that we have to remember. Another way that God's faithfulness can be proved through your finances is through contentment and humility. On this journey, you have to understand that even though you may have a budget, that does not mean unexpected expenses are not going to come. It doesn't mean unexpected opportunities will not come. It just means that, Lord, where you have me right now, I am completely satisfied. I thank you for what you've given me, and I'm humble enough to know, Father God, that I have to live beneath my means. I don't want to live above my means because that puts me in a sticky situation. But when you combine wisdom with contentment and humility, I believe that's an indication to God, hey, God, you can trust me with more if that's your plan for my life. You can trust me with increase if that's your plan for my life. My heart is ready, and I thank you for every opportunity that you've been able to provide for me and my family. So that's an attitude of gratitude. Another way that God's faithfulness can be proved through your finances is by grace. It's by grace, because somebody is going to need that information that you have. Okay? But the person may be the same person who was laughing at you for budgeting, who called you broke because you were budgeting, who laughed at you because you were using cash envelopes when you were out on vacation. That same person may get stuck in a financial bind, and they are going to come to you for your resolution. They're going to come to you for your answers. And so you want to just be gracious towards them and extend the same grace that God has extended to us. Because sometimes people may not always need money. Maybe they need to be encouraged on their budgeting journey. Maybe they need to be shown the way of how to budget. And with this course and your skill in the prayers, we are able to become better financial stewards over the things that God has given us financially. And then finally, God's faithfulness can be proved through your finances by you sharing your testimony. Because this budgeting journey is so personal and you may choose to keep it private, a lot of people are not going to see the discipline that went into it, the sacrifice that went into it, the tears that went into it, the sweat that went into it, the nights you declined brunch and going out with your homegirls and your homeboys. They're not going to see the behind the scenes sacrifice. So when they come to you, have a testimony ready to share, and don't just boast about your own wisdom and your own fortitude. Remember, it's by the grace of God that we are able to obtain and sustain and maintain these things. So when they come to you, that's how God's faithfulness can be proved through your finances. Share your testimony of how God was able to help you get through this, how he gave you the wisdom that you needed and the resources that you needed. Don't be afraid to share your testimony, because it could change someone's life. Now, as always, I hope that something that I shared in this video was beneficial to you. If it was, please feel free to give me a thumbs up or let me know in the comment section below. If you want, you can subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. It's the Prove Through You channel, or you could share it with a friend or someone who may need to be encouraged. Maybe somebody needs to know the basics of financial literacy, and that's what we've been talking about. If you're looking for a more shorter, condensed version of some of these topics, feel free to follow me over on Instagram at Prove Through You. And of course, if you don't want to leave a comment below because maybe it's too personal, or you have a testimony that you would like to share, but you want to share it anonymously, please feel free to email me at provethroughyou@gmail.com. So thank you so much for tuning in. I pray that you have an amazing day. Until next time.